Okay, so let me go live on Instagram. Okay, Instagram is going live. Instagram requires some degree of patience for it to go live.
Tell me about
Well,
it. It's always
yeah.
complicated.
Yes, so we are live. So, welcome everybody. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for joining. I am your host. So, this is our virtual book club. I'm your host, Gloria Esoimeme, and I have with me Pratibha. Pratibha, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hi everyone. I'm Pratibha. I've collaborated with Dr. Gloria on this amazing book club, and I'm a business communication coach. So I coach professionals to level up their confidence and to transform them from step 0 to step 100 in no less than 21 days. So that's my strategy, and I'm amazed and I'm really floored to be collaborating with Gloria here. And welcome to everyone who's ever watching, because this is our final episode of 2025.
Yes, and I would really appreciate it if you tell me where you're joining in from. I'm joining in from Dubai. Pratibha is joining in from Dubai. Um, I know people are joining from Nigeria because I can see one of my friends who is from Nigeria. So I have Sneha joining in from Dubai as well. And I really appreciate it that today is Christmas and you guys are here. See, I have my little Christmas decoration here. That was
I
a hamper I
haven't.
got from someone. I just put it there. I didn't get a tree. But
Yeah.
so for those who have read the book, because I know some people have not read the book, this is like the very first cohorts of this book club. Is it, we the first months we did this, we're reading this book, The Courage to Be Disliked, and I know many people did not really read the book. However, if you haven't read it, it's a good book to read, and it's not a book that you read one time. Hey, Alinov, I see you. That's one of my friends who is an artist. He
Okay.
just joined. Yes. So it's a really
Hello.
good book. It's a really good book to read, and it's not the kind of book you read one time. You read it and you read it over and over again. And it had, I'll just do a brief review because this is we've been reading it since the beginning of December. So I started this book club this month, and we had 4 episodes. We read it 4 times, and we met 4 times. We broke the book into
Yeah.
4 parts. No, to be honest, we broke it into 3 parts because the
Three.
first week was the introduction, and then after that we broke it into 4 parts, into 3 parts. And it's about a philosopher and a youth. They called him a youth, and he had all these questions he was asking about life, you know. And some of the questions he would ask were just kind of like mind-boggling. Others were things that we were like, yes, that makes sense. It's very deep. And so what I'm going to share, or Pratibha, you can go first. You can, and I also, for those who have listened, because some people have not read the book, but they've been here the whole time, all 4 times that we're here, they've been here. So if you can tell me what your thoughts are, I would appreciate it. Um, Thank you, Alinov. So if you can tell me what you gain, if you can put in comments what you've gained from this book, if it's from listening to us, I would appreciate that. And Pratibha, you can go first with what you've learned. And this session is going to be brief because I know it's Christmas Day. I don't want to take you away from your families. I just wanted to be consistent. That's why we still had it today.
Well, Gloria, like you mentioned in the introduction of the session itself, it's not something that you just read and you pass by. Because, guys, whoever's listening, understand that this is not a book that needs to be taken lightly. And my humble advice would be to read it and then revisit it. Because every time when you revisit the previous chapter, you have a complete different exposure. And that's what I felt, starting from the first night. I think right from, just opening this, right from the chapter of why people can change, up till not self affirmation but self acceptance. till the fifth night, which is the chapter second of the fifth night, I have reread this book at least 3 to 4 times. Maybe not physically, but obviously through audiobooks as well. And if I can point out one important lesson that you have to learn from all of these nights is, please go to the third night. I think the third night is the best part where you have to actually learn. The fact that they mention about denying the desire for recognition, most importantly, not living to, you know, drive somebody else's satisfaction rather than fueling your own happiness and your own satisfaction, and desire for the recognition makes you unfree. How it is like holding you like in at an anchor, like how ships are holding, to an anchor. I think the underline of all this comes back to the courage. It's not something that we say it as a word, but more as a feeling. It's a mere feeling that you need to accept yourself, that you need to um, have. I'm just trying to find the right adjective for this. You know what I mean? Because it's so deep that only when you accept yourself to let others dislike is when you discover real freedom. And if you're
Exactly.
going to look into any of these chapters, please reread the third night at least 2 times, because even if you don't journal during the day, this will exactly serve you as a reminder why this. And that's what I've learned throughout. And the fact that trauma does not define us, I do believe that trauma does define us, because there are some parts of the chapters where the conversation between the philosopher and the youth, me and Gloria, we were always discussing that, we are on the middle ground, because sometimes we agree with the philosopher, sometimes we agree with the youth, and sometimes neither. And the answers to all of that comes in the third night and the fourth night respectively. One of my most favorite part of it is, you're not the center of the world. There's a
Hmm.
chapter like that in the
Yes.
fourth,
Yes.
and
The fourth night. Yep.
bolt in our head. And I actually want to hear from you, Gloria. What do you think about the fourth night? What were your thoughts?
Okay, so I wrote a few notes about the fourth night, where they talked about, I said he described a self centered person, not necessarily as a tyrant or selfish person, but someone who desires the recognition to be liked. When you're struggling so much, you care so much about people liking you. There's nothing wrong with you wanting people to like you. However, if all your motivation is geared towards people liking you, then there's a problem. And then he talked about also fourth night, he talked about the members of a community. The community is the center of the world. He says, you're not the center of the world, the community is, and it's our service towards that community. That's where we derive our value. I really liked that part. I like the third night and I like the fourth night. Just briefly, I'll tell you what I learned. He said that trauma does not define you. I would say yes, and I still struggle, right? I
Yeah.
still struggle. Trauma does not define you. However, I'm not going to deny anyone's trauma. And when he says trauma does not, the trauma should not define you, is that you should rise above that situation. And if we want to be very objective, there are people who have gone through same situations that you've gone through. They were able to get out of that. They don't have the exact outcomes that you had, and that was just, or that anyone had. I'm not saying you now, I'm not being judgmental. I could be talking about myself as well. They used a different lens to view their situation, and they were able to move past that. So that trauma did not define them. They were able to create their own new world. Because you're able to create your own new world, or because you're not able to create your own new world, does not mean that that trauma never existed. It did, but it's for us to look for the tools to help us to move forward. And part of that is also reading books to help expand our mindset, expand our view, just so we don't become the same person we've always been. Then the lessons that I learned altogether was that all problems, I have a few notes that I wrote here, said all problems are from interpersonal relationships. And Initially I kind of struggled, but just reflecting on the book over and over again, I'm like, yes, most of the problems in life are from interpersonal relationships. And if you can get past that, then your life is truly going to move forward. Then something else that I really liked, it was simple, but it was just that rather than build vertical relationships where it's either you are looking up to someone or you're looking down at someone, irrespective of that relationship, it's better to create horizontal relationships where there's no sense of superiority or inferiority. Even if someone works for you, even if you work for someone, irrespective of the reporting lines, you should try to create horizontal relationships. And what horizontal relationships would, it's not how would I say it, it's not giving unnecessary praise or criticism. It's appreciating people for the things that they do. So an example he gave was that, oh, you go like, hey, great job, great job. That's kind of like you looking down on the person. You are the
Right.
standard saying that that job is great, and then someone telling you great job, it means that person feels superior to you. Or someone criticizing you or you criticizing someone else. However, you could correct, you could draw people to their faults without it being judgmental. But it's kind of like an example he also gave was like, so if a friend comes over to my place and they help me clean, I would say thank you. I'm not going to say great job. And he was suggesting the same relationship with families, and I like that. That I desire that to in all my relationships, people who I report to and those who report to me, I want to have a horizontal relationship with them where I do not feel anyone is inferior to me. And at the same time, I do not feel anyone is superior to me. However, that does not mean there are no reporting lines. That does not mean I would be disrespectful to people who I report to because I want to be in a horizontal relationship. If I want to be in a horizontal relationship, it just means that I have that confidence in the value that I bring to the table, that I don't think that I have to now be subservient to anybody, and I do not want anyone to be subservient to me. Um, there's another point that I would talk about, and it says that I think I talked about that in the previous episode, was talking about creating boundaries. And because that lesson was very important, how he talked about different tasks. So everyone has a task, and you knowing where your task ends, it makes it easier for you to have that boundary to say, well, this is where my task ends, and I'm just going to leave you to do your task. And then if you fail at your task, you would bear the consequence of your action. I'm not going to take on that heavy burden of saying, I want to make sure you complete your task. Then that is me feeling superior, me crossing lines and not staying in my lane. That's kind of what I, so the things I got is that all problems arise from interpersonal relationships. I would build horizontal relationships, and then I would um, create boundaries by letting people stay in their lane while I stay in my lane. And then another thing that I learned is that anger is a choice. And for the most part, when we get so angry, it's a power tussle. You wanting to tell this person, I have power over you. And anytime I see myself doing it, since I've been reading this book, anytime I see myself wanting to get into that power, maybe someone is trying to talk down at me, I withdraw. Or when I see myself wanting to be that other person who I I catch myself. It's something I do consciously. I catch myself. So those are the things I have learned from this book. It's called The Courage to Be Disliked. It's just what it really this book is all about. It's all about the courage to be free, the courage to be yourself, the courage to live your best life. And anyone who knows me, you know I talk about negotiations day in day out, and you can only truly start to negotiate for the life that you want when you are yourself. You know your value and you're very confident in what you bring to the table. And when you're negotiating, your emotions and you're not dysregulated, and people cannot program you. People cannot press your button and then you respond in the way they've set you up to respond. So those are the things I have learned. And um, if anyone has any comments, I would really appreciate you. I want this book club to be interactive. It's not a teaching session. We are reading the book. It's not a teaching session. And even if you haven't read the book, if we say stuff, you can comment based on the things we talk about, and that would make the conversation richer. It would trigger me to remember some of the things I read in the book, and then, or it would trigger the co-host, if it's Pratibha, it would trigger that person to talk more about what they read. Pratibha, do you have any last words before I talk about what's going to happen next year?
I'm just mind blown, amazed, speechless because reading this book has been one big of a journey. The reason I keep saying that, Gloria, is because, I'm used to reading alone. I've never done that with anybody else. I've never had an accountability partner. I've never had a community where I'm able to share. And the thing which you've created here is not something which is so simple. It takes a lot of efforts, and I really, really have to thank you for creating that seed. You've planted that seed, and I'm looking forward to how well this seed germinates and how well it's going to go and become a tree and give us flowers and fruits. And
Yes,
I'm really, really looking forward to 2026 because I love the fact that we had done it after multiple calls, and instead of pushing it to January, we took a step back. And all of us, whoever you guys are listening, please take a note that we made sure that let's start this habit from December rather than depending on January. And
correct.
likely said, I've actually applied this to all areas of my life. I'm not waiting for January 1st to start something. I'm like, let's do it today. So a
Yes,
big thank
yes.
you for initiating this, and I'm so happy to have co-hosted this with you, and I'm really, really looking forward to joining as a guest from next session. I'll be the one which is going to be cheering you on.
Yes, but it's always, I tell you that all the time. It's always a pleasure collaborating with you. You're a sports. You're just someone who I reach out to, and you always say yes. And for that I say thank you. And for next week, this is the book we're gonna be reading. Um, what better book to start the year with than start with why? So that's the book we're going to be reading. And my co-host is Ineze Eluka. She she has a PhD. Ineze, she lives in the she's American. She's Nigerian and American. She lives in Philadelphia. She works for the U.S. government. She has a PhD in public health. She is an avid reader. Ineze is someone who I've known Ineze close to 7, 8 years. We've never met in person, but we've never met in person. But we both started a book club years ago. All through the pandemic, we read together. We were a group of I don't know if we were up to like 10, but we just kept reading. And then life happened. And then the group, I moved, they moved, people had kids, got married. So life changed a little bit. But she's someone who is, whoever is listening, you would like her. She's very smart. She's like Pratibha. She's a sport. She's someone who has insights. So that's the person I would be hosting with, starting next Thursday. And then we're going to figure out if we're going to do it every week. It depends on, I'll try it for like I'll try it and see how it goes. If we do it weekly, or do we need to make it bi-weekly if it's a little bit stressful. The only reason why I wanted to do it weekly was because you don't want to fall when it's weekly, then that way you can read that little portion and then catch up. But if it's every month or every 2 weeks, we'll figure it out. There's no rule. We're all learning as we go along. We'll see how things go as the year moves on. Maybe we can do a poll after a certain time. Do we want it to be every 2 weeks? Do we want it to be every week? Or do we want it to be every month? But the goal is, whatever happens, I want to read a book every month this coming year. And I would be online. I would make sure I read one book every month for 2026, God willing.
Yeah,
All
it is.
right. Yes. Go ahead, Pratibha.
No, it is possible, and I really, really love you're not just telling people like let's read. I have to be honest, okay? I don't believe in this 25 books in 2025, 26 books in 2026. I don't go by that because I'm totally against it. I feel like we have to the we have to learn what we are, reading. It's not just reading and then throwing it out. And the
Yes,
fact that you've been so accountable and nurturing, and I think that's something which I want to carry forward for January and the months to come as well, to be very serious and to not just read the substance of it, not the surface level, but also the depth of the book. What is it trying to say?
yes.
And,
And actually applying it. It's not just reading the book, but reading the book and applying. That's how you grow when
yeah.
you start to apply the wisdom you learn from the book.
Hmm.
Like I've grown in leaps and bounds. Like there are things I have consciously stopped doing. There are things I catch myself. For that, I'm just grateful.
Oh. Well, I'm grateful that we've done this, and
Yes,
it's been super successful, which I never even imagined. And the consistency that both of us, along with this beautiful community, and
yes,
the recurrent visitors they have brought in,
yes,
it's something which I will carry forward, and I'm looking forward to even joining in the upcoming sessions to make myself part of this community and also keep reading this book at a pace so that I don't, forget. Amidst
yes.
everybody's busy. Listen, guys, see, everybody's busy at the end of the day, but it's like, are you willing
Easy.
to commit? That's what
Yes.
it is.
Yes. So this is not for, this is me. This is me trying. This is me making that decision to read, and I'm trying to get people along just so we move along together. And for
Yeah.
you to be, so for you to get reminders, because sometimes when I go live, if you're there, you see it. But for you to get reminders, for you to get, because we have a workbook that we follow. So for you to get the workbook, if you go on my website, gloriaesomeme.com, and then you go to the book club session, you see a place where you can actually put in your details so we can send you messages once we go live. Once, if I know what, if I have any information on the book, more information, I will send it to the people who sign up. So, and if you also want to, because there is fine, I'm live on Instagram, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, but there's also a community here. If you want to be part of that community in here where we can see ourselves, then you can, if you sign up, then I would also send that the link so you kind of join the conversation here. Theophilus, I think you can get this book on Amazon. It's called Start With Why. If you Google, I'm sure you find a way to get it. I don't know if there's any free version online. I don't know. I just know that this is what the book looks like. I don't want Simon Sinek to come for me. I don't mind if it comes from me, but
Well, he
anyways,
sure will.
I think at this point we'll call it a night, right, Pratibha?
Yeah,
So people, or a morning, or call it an afternoon, because I know we're calling from different parts of the world. So you will
yeah.
have and enjoy your, if you're on
Thank you.
holidays.
Let's take a picture. I don't have my phone with me. My phone is inside, so I just left my phone
I
in the room.
I strongly believe that a picture has been taken already.
Really? We did? Okay, then we need to post
Yeah,
that then. Okay.
a picture has been taken. I want to believe that, and if a picture should have been taken, we'll figure that. Yeah, it's been taken. Yes,
Okay.
I have my ways.
Well, you'll give me one as well, so no problem. I believe
Yes,
you.
yes, I will. I will. And if not, then we can go back on the video and do a screenshot. We'll go on.
Yeah. Either way, anything works.
Yes. All right. You
Okay.
have a wonderful evening. I will see you
Thank
next week,
you.
and Happy New Year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everyone, and have an amazing 2026. Thank you so much. And thank you, Gloria.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.